Moneyline is brought to you by Pitney Bowes. See how your mailroom, copier, facsimile, and dictation systems can profit from the Pitney Bowes relationship. Live from the world's financial capital, New York City, this is Moneyline with Lou Dobbs.
Good evening. 15 seconds, 272 dead, 1,400 injured. The San Francisco earthquake is the second worst in this country's history. Aftershocks to last night's earthquake have not ended, nor is the toll of death and destruction complete. Authorities say the earthquake caused at least $1 billion in property damage. Businesses will lose hundreds of millions of dollars over the next few days. Steve Young now reports on the earthquake's impact on business and finance in the San Francisco area.
The Pacific Stock Exchange looked like this just last week. Because of power cutoffs and communications chaos resulting from the earthquake, it was down to a trickle, just 20% of the usual volume, as traders scrambled to their cars to conduct business.
Keep him up on it. He doesn't know if he can do anything in options. He's having a problem with the options market.
Hambrecht and Quist managed to trade big board and American exchange issues in New York. But the investment bank's main over-the-counter trading operation was at a standstill in San Francisco because it couldn't get trading quotes and couldn't communicate with the outside world, including its office in New York.
They have reservations on a 10 o'clock flight from San Francisco to Kennedy, and unless we're sure that we have power back within the next few hours, they'll be going to get that airplane.
The nation's biggest discount broker, Charles Schwab, was caught with its computer down for 4 hours, struggled through the night, and managed to get it up and breathing by the start of trading.
We arranged for a charter plane to fly data tapes and so forth to off-site facilities and set up a off-site facility outside of San Francisco in case we had to resume business outside of San Francisco.
Bank of America only opened San Francisco offices it considered safe. The Federal Reserve Bank in San Francisco was able to keep operating the Fed wire for transfer of bank funds and securities using emergency power. And out in the valley, Silicon Valley, at least 3 major players, IBM, Apple, and Hewlett-Packard, shut down for the day. The disarray, confusion, and production cutbacks are likely to continue for several days at least. Steve Young, CNN Business News, New York.
Help of all kinds pouring into the San Francisco area. 4 competitors stepping in to help the Pacific Stock Exchange. The Chicago Board of Options Exchange, the American Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, and Philadelphia Exchange, all building trading floors for Pacific Coast options. The Pacific Exchange tomorrow sending its traders to those locations to resume business. Washington responding swiftly to the disaster, promising almost $300 million in immediate disaster relief. The president says he will inspect the damage personally later this week, and he pledged support by the federal government.
Our hearts are with them as they face this terrible tragedy. And words can't adequately convey our sentiments, I know, but I can say that we will take every step and make every effort to help the Bay Area in its hour of need.
Federal aid will help stabilize the Bay Area, but the earthquake will leave scars on the economy there that will take much longer to heal. Grant Perry has the story.
The tragedy is being measured, as it must be at first, in human terms. But soon, Californians will be forced to take stock of the quake's economic impact.
We don't have any estimates, but it won't be within the next 48 hours that we know of.
Property damage is estimated to be at least $1 billion, but the total economic loss to the region is likely to be much greater.
The Bay Area generally is a very, very tight, fully employed economy, so you're going to have to divert resources away from what they otherwise would have been doing. That's lost forever in order to deal with the earthquake damage and the disruption.
Jordan estimates in just the next few days, lost business will amount to hundreds of millions of dollars. Longer term, rebuilding activity will, to some extent, help offset economic losses in a region that's had one of the healthiest economies in the nation. If ranked among countries, California's gross state product would be 8th in the world. About a fourth of that economic output is produced in the Bay Area. California employs 12 million people. About a fourth of those jobs are in 6 Bay Area counties that have been declared disaster areas. Economists say the Silicon Valley's economy probably won't suffer any long-term effects from the quake, but they are less optimistic about the area's real estate market, which has been super hot. In July, the median price for an existing single-family home in the Bay Area was $270,000, up from $214,000 the year before. The quake could change the upward momentum.
We know that California real estate was marked up a great deal. There was a lot of leverage in that area in particular as people were trading on the equity values of their real estate. Consequently, some of the mortgages that are currently outstanding may now not be quite as liquid as they were before.
Economists say the big question about the future of California's economy is, will business be less willing to expand in or move to the state? Grant Perry, CNN Business News.
12,000 barrels of gasoline spilled from Unocal oil tanks damaged by the earthquake. That spill occurred at the company's complex in Richmond, California. Unocal says the oil has been contained, doesn't pose a threat. Meanwhile, the California State Fire Marshal has ordered all oil pipelines in the San Francisco area to shut down, at least until the threat of aftershocks has passed. The oil markets in New York not reacting to the earthquake. West Texas Intermediate crude lost 19 cents and settled on the mercantile exchange at $20.56 a barrel. Assessing the damage when Moneyline continues, the financial aftershock, the cost of cleanup in San Francisco. Stay with us.
Right here, because if they can't solve a problem over the phone, my service rep is at my door right away.
Well, this is how I know it's right. I made the right decision. Nobody ever mentions the fax machines in the office.
I chose Pitney Bowes because it took all the pressure out of making the decision. In their unique position, there was no question about who to choose.
They are always there, step by step by step. They follow, we grow, we develop.
Pitney Bowes. We are Facsimile Systems.
What can you expect from a company named Bell South? Exactly what you'd expect from one of the world's leading communications companies. The products and services your business needs wherever you do business, from advanced telecommunications and sophisticated information systems to state-of-the-art mobile communications. What else would you expect? Bell South. Everything you expect from a leader.
I never thought I'd write to a car company thanking them for the way they built a car. But here it is.
Considering the potential for harm when a car and semi collide, we were lucky to walk away.
I've been thrilled with my Volvo. Now, I'm thankful.
All we lost was our $250 deductible. We could have lost a lot more.
Can your car company offer these incredible savings? Volvo, a car you can believe in.
Professor Kranz?
Yes?
Look at this remarkable example of life insurance dividend performance.
Northwestern Mutual. That's my company.
You'd think since they've been ranked #1 more times than any other company for the last 50 years, they'd be more vocal about it.
With the threat of hundreds of earthquakes in California each year, why aren't bridges and highways earthquake-proof? Can we ever really prepare for the big one? On CNN's Crossfire, 7:30 Eastern tonight.
The Internal Revenue Service doing its part to help residents of the earthquake zone. Today, the IRS saying it will waive penalties if filing deadlines or tax payments are not met by people whose lives have been disrupted by the earthquake. The IRS says they will be reasonable about proof of that disruption, and the IRS says that the waiver is open-ended, could even extend the April 15th deadline. Well, the earthquake has taken a human toll. It has also had a financial impact. Sue Keenan reports on earthquake damage and the insurance industry.
Not many Californians have earthquake insurance. Only 15% of policyholders opt for the high cost and high deductibles involved in this special coverage. Still, the insurance companies expect to pay close to $1 billion in earthquake-related claims, covering fire damage, cars crushed by falling objects, companies suffering loss of business, workers hurt on the job, and deaths.
Obviously, it is an appalling tragedy in human terms, and also it's going to be, looks like being a major loss in insurance terms, although it's terribly early days to try and quantify that.
At this point, only 2 insurance companies have announced expected losses. State Farm, the largest insurer nationwide as well as in California, expects to lose less than the $475 million in damages it suffered with Hurricane Hugo. Fireman's Fund estimates its losses after taxes and after reinsurance at $50 million. It has been the season for reinsurance companies, which cover the insurance industry losses estimated at $4 billion from Hurricane Hugo alone.
That which they had was not enough, were depleted or used in the Hugo hurricane of only a few weeks ago. And now that they may well incur some more losses, they may not have adequate amounts of reinsurance looking forward. So I think that'll be a blessing or a boon, prospectively, to the reinsurance company.
In fact, the leading reinsurance stocks were up 3 to 5%. Primary insurance stocks moved up, too, on speculation they'll be forced to raise rates. Many on Wall Street have long held that the insurance industry needed a strong jolt, something to bring an end to the 3-year-old price-cutting war that has seriously hurt industry profits. It appears this may be it. Sue Keenan, CNN Business News, New York.
The earthquake affecting the prices of some insurance stocks. American International advanced 3 1/4, Aetna up 2 3/8. Reinsurance stocks also moving higher. Marsh & McLennan up 3 1/8. General RE up 2 3/4. Caroon and Black gaining 1 7/8. The damage done by the earthquake in the Bay Area will boost some businesses, and among those stocks closing higher were cement makers. Calmet up 2 3/4. Lone Star Industries gaining 1 3/4. Lumber companies Willamette and Georgia Pacific both gaining more than a point. Emeron, a major California pipe and steel producer, gained 2 3/8. Well, the housing industry is in a slump nationwide. A slower economy, rising mortgage interest rates, crimping housing starts last month. The government reported today that new construction nationwide fell 5.2% in September to the lowest level since the 1982 recession. Hurricane Hugo delayed new building in the south where housing starts plunged. Construction also dipped in the west but rebounded in the northeastern part of the country. Signs of economic weakness today hurt the dollar. Losses were following heavy dollar selling last night in Japan and Europe. The dollar closed higher in New York, down more than 1 yen and down 1 2/3 pfennigs against the Deutschmark. Well, Commerce Secretary Robert Mosbacher not worried the dollar's recent strength will hurt exports. He said companies should push foreign sales to counteract the dollar's high value.
But at today's value, we should be able to hold on to share and continue to build our share of exports through greater knowledge and greater quality and greater ability, particularly in other companies other than just the top range of the highest and biggest companies, by getting into the export market in a bigger way.
Exports slipped 0.2% in August. Part of that drop blamed on the strong dollar. Coming up next on Moneyline, the stock market inching back. We'll have a full report for you on the activity on Wall Street today.
If you look the world over for the perfect business environment, you couldn't do better than here in the Middle South USA. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Southeast Missouri. Here you have it all. A central location to cut transportation costs. An abundant, trainable workforce. Plentiful power. And progressive corporate tax incentives. To help your company learn more about this dynamic region, Entergy Corporation has prepared this special Passport to Middle South USA. It's a free package of information on the facts you need to know. For your personalized passport, call 1-800-426-5721. That's 1-800-426-5721. So look to Middle South USA for business opportunities that are out of this world. A message from Entergy Corporation, the Middle South Electric System.
There's this point called flashover. Everything ignites at once. Temperatures hit 1,800 degrees. If your air pack screws up or something else gives out, you could have a problem. They say we're in love with our gear. I'd say we're obsessed.
For over 75 years, people who've depended on their equipment and their vehicles have depended on us. Gates, the world's most trusted name in belts and hose.
drive a Volvo, because replacement parts are hard to find.
UAL stock hit again today by more bad news. This time reports out of London that British Airways, a partner in the investment group trying to buy the airline, has yet to receive a proposal for a new bid. British Airways says it's waiting to see if there's going to be a revised offer, but it would not commit to participating in it. UAL stock, which had been trading up by mid-session on reports of heavy buying by several big brokerage firms, finished the day lower, down 6 1/4. UAL tonight at 191 3/4. In the last 4 trading days, UAL stock has lost 88 points, or 32% of its price. AMR stock today gaining 3/4 point. Moneyline columnist Dan Dortman reported here last night that Donald Trump had sold a part, at least, of his AMR holdings. Trump dropped his $120 a share bid Monday. AMR today said it welcomed Trump's decision, repeated the company is not for sale. The parent company of American Airlines also reported lower third-quarter earnings today, earnings down almost 9%. Airline takeover targets getting some protection from Washington. A House committee today approving legislation allowing the Transportation Department to block airline takeovers. The department can now review whether deals jeopardize safety and competition, or would be able to do so should the legislation be finalized. The Senate panel approved similar legislation last week. The Bush administration opposes the legislation, however. Well, on Wall Street today, other takeover stocks gaining altitude. The recent volatility returning to leaving the market. In point of fact, the Dow Jones Industrials did open lower, but rebounded when investors started bargain hunting for blue chips. The Dow closed up almost 5 points. The Dow tonight at 2,643.65. And the volume, almost 167 million, with advancing issues beating out decliners by a margin of just about 4 to 3. And this the first time that advancers have beat out decliners in 7 sessions. The New York Stock Exchange Composite Index gained 0.43. The S&P 500 rose 0.61. The Dow Transportation's losing again, down 6.40, while the utilities fell 0.57. The 10 most active issues on the big board: AMR up 3/4, as I said. Philip Morris up 1/8. UAL down 6 1/4. No new good news for the company. Telephone up 1/4. Bristol Myers Squibb down 3/8. Pacific Gas and Electric down 3/8. IBM down 1/2. But after the close, Big Blue saying it will buy back $1 billion of its stock. Chevron up 1. Fannie Mae down 1/4. And Enacomp today gaining 1/8. Among the most widely held issues, USX up 5/8. Polaroid losing 1 1/2. Disappointing earnings reported late yesterday. Paramount up 1 1/8. Bank America down 1/2, as was Wells Fargo. Sears lost 3/4. Coca-Cola up 1 1/4. General Motors down 1/8. Pacific Telesis down 5/8. Exxon up 1/8. In over-the-counter trading, the NASDAQ Composite Index tonight at 463.28 after a gain of 3.35. Volume almost 148 million shares. In American Exchange trading, that index gaining 2.91, closing at 378.07 on volume of just over 12.5 million shares. Tonight's Moneyline market movers. Apogee up 1 5/8. The glassmaker expected to receive large orders for windows following the San Francisco earthquake. Crawford up 2 on the day. Another company benefiting from the earthquake, providing claim services to insurers. CalFed losing 3/4. California-based banks as a group, of course, weak today. Hilton rebounded 5 1/8. Investors apparently believing the stock was heavily oversold in Friday's plunge. Morgan Stanley up 2 3/4, posting improved earnings. Well, taking a look now at how the markets in Asia performed, the Tokyo Stock Exchange Key Index bounced back from heavy losses earlier in the week. Todd Benjamin has the story from Tokyo.
Tokyo stock prices continue to head north. The Nikkei average starts today at 35,107 after adding 111 points in Wednesday's session on volume of 800 million shares. Despite a pickup in volume, many institutional investors are taking a wait-and-see attitude, waiting to see what will happen to the dollar, waiting to see what will happen to interest rates.
So there's not a high level of confidence, and you can see that in terms of the sector rotation. We've had no clear leadership since the crash. It's changed almost on a daily basis. Today, there is no leadership. It's changing intraday.
In other news, Bank of Japan Governor Sumita appears to be signaling the BOJ will keep a tight rein on interest rates, making the comment after the market closed and leaving room to maneuver if it's necessary to calm the world financial markets. On the subject of LBOs, Sumita says it's up to the individual banks whether or not to finance them, but he appreciates their cautious attitude. Japanese banks, of course, the center of attention because of the UAL deal. The public approval rating of the 2-month-old cabinet of Prime Minister Kaifu declining, down 3% to 43% this month.
And finally, don't mess with my Walkman. A man who asked a university student on the subway to turn down the volume on his headset was ignored. He yanked the headset and ended up with a broken jaw. It may be the first instance of a Walkman leading to violence. Sony says it receives complaints about noise leaking from the earphones and is working on the problem. A solution that can't come too soon for one man with a very sore jaw. For Moneyline, I'm Todd Benjamin in Tokyo.
What can you expect from a company named Bell South? Exactly what you'd expect from one of the leaders in the application of new technology, advanced telecommunications and information systems for customers across the country and around the world. All from the first company to introduce the information system of the future, Trans-Text Universal Gateway. What else would you expect? Bell South. Everything you expect from a leader.
Yeah, 6 months ago. No callbacks, no sales. I hate Sprouts.
What was wrong?
Old information. No information. Sales reps couldn't make sense of anything. Then this guy from Microwaves comes along, recommends Epson. That network system in Building B, all Epson. Computers, printers, laptops, the works. Microwaves linked every sales rep. Gave us what we wanted. No Sprouts.
Microage, authorized Epson dealer.
If you choose to finance or lease your new GM vehicle someplace other than GMAC, you might find yourself waiting in line instead of out hugging one. GMAC. Nobody wants to get you into your new GM car or truck faster.
Was the nation's deadliest quake since 1906 a preview of something bigger to come? As Bay Area residents clean up destruction left behind, stay with CNN for complete live coverage throughout the day.
Tomorrow marks the second anniversary of the stock market crash of October 19th, 1987, when the Dow plunged 508 points. Myron Candell is with me now, and he tells us about some of the lessons that he thinks we've learned in those 2 years. Myron?
Lou, commemorating the second anniversary of the '87 crash may be something of an anticlimax, since the comparisons of then and now really started last Friday night following that day's 190-point plunge. The dire expectations that another meltdown Monday was in prospect failed to materialize, and right now, the Dow Industrials are 74 points higher than last Friday night, just about where they were 7 weeks ago, and make note of this, 900 points higher than at the close 2 years ago tomorrow. So what have we learned in those 2 years? Perhaps first is that it doesn't pay to panic. Those investors who got out in the frenzy of Black Monday or the next morning sold out at lows that haven't been seen since then. And if they didn't get back in, they missed out on one of the biggest bull market rallies in history. We can't make a judgment yet on those who sold early this past Monday, but right now they're not looking too smart. The lesson is not never sell, it's never panic. But one lesson that we haven't learned is what to do about program trading. I think that practice distorts the market and turns the world's greatest capital-raising mechanism into a gambling casino where the cards are stacked against the individual investors. Circuit breakers may help in extreme cases, but they don't prevent sudden bursts of volatility. If Wall Street doesn't act on its own, Congress will step in, or the individual investors who are needed for liquidity will leave for good. Lou?
The small investor, you're talking about those with their money in pension funds, mutual funds, retirement funds?
No, those are the institutional investors that run their money. I'm talking about the people who make their own investment decisions. We need them for the market. They're important. They're being forced out.
Not being forced out, they're really out, don't you think? Is a more accurate way to say it?
Well, largely out.
Okay, we can compromise on that. But the reason I brought up pension funds, mutual funds, is that many investors really, in many cases, have no alternative, or have at least chosen, in the case of a mutual fund, that alternative, to be in the market. They're not likely to leave, and if they were to have left, you're the one who pointed it out. They would have missed 900 points on this Dow since the crash of October '87. How can you say, when we see this market stabilize after that remarkable plunge Friday, 190 points, that this market isn't working? We've stabilized it, seemingly.
No, the market is
looks like it's working.
The market is working. I want it to work better. These sudden bursts of volatility are not constructive for the market. We would do better without them. Maybe if there were no program trading, we'd be up 1,150
Program
points.
trading, the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange, John Phelan, says program trading did not exacerbate the market's plunge. Markets decline. Markets move higher. I've heard you say in the past almost 10 years, 100 times, that a market doesn't move in a straight line.
That's true, but it doesn't have to move so precipitously, and I think program trading doesn't add anything to the economic benefit of the country. The stock market does. A fair and orderly market.
Would you like Congress to determine what adds to our economic vitality?
I don't want Congress to do it. I want Wall Street to do it on its own.
Well, all right. Myron, fair enough. Thanks. Well, looking ahead to tomorrow, we'll have the latest reading on inflation. Most economists expect the report on the Consumer Price Index to show inflation moderate, increasing just about 0.5% for the month of September. We'll see if that turns out to be the case. For tonight, that is Money.